All right, so when we started this, I don't even know how long ago, we called it Promise Not Panic. Because as this whole coronavirus thing was spooling up, everybody was freaking out. And instead of focusing on the promises that our Lord would make, we just wanted to focus on the panic and oddly enough found only more anxiety. Now, as things are trying to ramp back up, as we are trying to open back up, as we are trying to remember that we are a civilization knit together, it seems like we're doing the whole thing all over again, that whole let's all panic kind of moment. And inside of it, we're still forgetting the promise. I'm not going to do these things forever. Sooner or later, we will come back. So, as we do, we can either try and build something in panic and never actually find any peace, or we can remember the promises our Lord would make to us. Hear the 127th Psalm, verses 1 and 2. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. See, half the anxiety of all of this thing is that we don't know what to do, but we're sure that it's our job to figure out how to do it. We put the whole thing on us and then freak out when we don't know what to do. And then we just mix in more panic and mix in more panic, and pretty soon the whole thing just seems like a mountain. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. See, this is not one or the other. This is not God will do everything, so just, be laissez-faire about it. This is not God has it under control, so don't lift a finger. And this also isn't, this is on you, figure out a way. And if you make the right choices, God will bless you. God builds the house, those who build it. In other words, God works through the builders so that they don't labor in vain. If God were to take his hand from his creation, all of this would be vanity. And there'd be plenty of anxiety to go around. This psalm isn't a threat. It isn't a reprimand. It's a promise. God did build the house. God does watch over the city. So the watchmen that stay awake do not stay awake in vain, because they stand vigil over something that God has not only created but has promised to work within. They have promised, they have been promised that their toil is not in vain, and it doesn't have to be rooted in anxiety. He gives to his beloved sleep, and that doesn't mean like if you really are a Christian, you'll have no problems. But that means that if you actually focus on the promises of God, that when you deal with all of these things he has promised to be with you through, he will work through you and for you. And some of it will work out, and some of it will fall to pieces. But in all of it, the one thing that he was actually pointing towards the whole time still stands. The house of the Lord, it's here forever. The house of the Lord where he hands out to his beloved peace, rest, Sabbath. The place where our God would give us his gifts to tie us to the resurrection of the body and the life everlasting. They endure even in a world that looks like this, so that while all of these things are happening, we can focus on the promises that our Lord would make us, and then go out inside of our vocations and serve our neighbor as we have been given to do, without so much anxiety. Because as all this was starting up, so is it now. If all you want to do is focus on panic, there's plenty to go around. But if all you want to do is focus on the promise, there's a lot of that too, and that makes all the other stuff seem a lot more manageable. As we deal with this thing, however it's going to look, let's deal with it under the promise that God builds too. God has promised to watch over this too, and so this is not in vain.